We are headed out to Hungerford, which is a suburb of Houston South, and Melody Kershke was the first Women Wanting Wisdom group. She developed the first Women Wanting Wisdom group outside of the nucleus or the original group in New Orleans. And so we're going to head out there tonight, and we're going to have a great time. It happens to be my birthday also, so she's all excited because if you know anything about Melody Kershke, she claims me as her mother. So she's beside herself that she's going to be able to have me for my birthday. So there's no telling what surprises I'm in for. But I've got a good word for these women. I believe it's going to change their 2012. And you know what? When we become stale and stagnant and stop believing God for new things, that's exactly what we get.
You are love, on display for all to see. You are light, when the darkness closes in. You are hope, you have covered all my sin. You are peace, when my fear is crippling. You are true, even in my wandering. You are joy, you're the reason that I sing. You are life, and your death has lost its sting.
Lift me up. This year, our topic is going to be, over the whole year, is going to be the unfinished woman. And I have news for you, so many of you are still unfinished. I am, okay? And I'm so glad that I'm still unfinished, because that means God still can change something in me. There's still things that can be done and made. And so how many of you say it's okay to be unfinished? It's okay. You know, the world tells us, oh, no, you have to have all your stuff together. If you don't, you're going to be a failure. How many of you have had that feeling? Mm-hmm. But the reality is that we're all unfinished. You know what? We're going to talk about about being depressed today. And we're going to start off this first quarter of the year discussing the realities of the society that we live in America. We struggle with depression. Okay? Yes, Christians do struggle with depression. Christian women do struggle with depression. Christian ministers do struggle with depression. And we go through these things, and we're going to talk openly about depression because it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic in our nation. And, if we sit around and talk about it like it doesn't exist or pretend because we're Christians we're not going to have it, we're only fooling ourselves, and Satan's getting the stronghold in it. But the reality is that and I haven't really come to all the conclusions, except that I know that we have an epidemic. 98% of psychiatric drugs are sold in the United States. 98% of those that are manufactured are sold in the United States. Primary diagnosis, I think it is 96% of psychiatric diagnosis all have depression in them. Right. And most people that go to a doctor, or especially women that go through the change of life, we struggle with this area in our lives. And you say, some of the young girls are going, what kind of change? Okay. Well, it's not pocket change, okay? You don't get any money back, okay? But after you grow up and you get older, you have the opportunity that your body begins doing these type of things, and you end up struggling with depression. You can call it the blues. You can call it feeling sad. You can call it PMS. You can call it many, many different things. But the reality is we've got to deal with it, okay? Our society predisposes us, our thinking in America, because we think that everything should be like Disney World. It should all be a perfect world. It's a small world after all, and it should be perfect. And we want everything to be this beautiful, we want to be Peter Pan. We want to live forever. We want to fly from event to event. We want to be just this perfect world that we live in. And the reality is, well, this is my favorite new saying, reality is not simple. Yeah. There's nothing simple about my reality sometimes. And I'm sure there's some things that are not simple about your reality. But we have false expectations. And so we're going to talk about 5 things tonight that I want you to be able to walk away from here going, wow, if I begin to being pulled into this vortex, what do I do? Can you imagine? And whenever I'm preparing one of these classes, I always ask the Lord to really show me, well, what character in the Bible is going to be my focal point in this lesson? And it was kind of funny because I was praying and spending time, and literally it said, use Jesus. Can you imagine what a shock to Jesus' system was to live on this earth? How depressing. Okay, can you imagine how, if he would have succumbed to it? I mean, he had lived in heaven. He had had all of glory as his home, and here he was put in this little prison-like place where things live and die and grow, and it was a fallen world. But what did he do with it? He loved it. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. He chose to love something like this world and us. So the first thing that women have to stop doing as Christian women, and this is what we do all the time because we're trained to do it almost from the time we're this little, okay, is number 1 is we have to stop the all or nothing thinking. How many of y'all do the all or nothing thinking? Well, if I can't have this, then forget that. Or you throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, you say, well, if this doesn't just work out exactly like I think it should, then I'm just going to, this is just not what, I'm not going to do any of this. And we just push it away. All right, listen, if you live your life through the all or nothing lens, you're going to wear yourself out. Okay, you're going to absolutely wear yourself out, because this is a secret. Okay, 90% of life is gray. Okay, about 90% is gray. If all or nothing is when we think everything's either all this perfect, pristine, beautiful white, or if it's going to be all this other absolutely charcoal black. But the reality is that, there's a little tiny sliver of perfection sometimes that we actually bump into and fall in and out of. And, the darkness over here. But reality is this is gray. And we can't throw this out of life. If we choose to throw this out of life, we're going to be depressed. So we have to learn to deal with the gray. If you see everything through this life lenses, you will exhaust yourself, and you will also remove yourself and eventually everyone else from your journey. Because people can't stand to be around you. Let me boil it down for you. You're absolutely exhausting. If you're always saying, well, if you can't do this completely this way, then done with you. Aren't you glad Jesus doesn't do that with you? Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many times that the Lord has looked at me and he went, good Lord, girl, come here. Let me clean you up. You are an absolute mess. What have you gotten yourself into? And I didn't even know what I had gotten myself into. But the Lord in his love saw me. He saw through all of my failures, and he saw me. And so if we live in this all or nothing world, and we raise our children in this all or nothing world, we're setting our children up for failure. We're setting ourselves up for depression, and we're setting our children up to be highs and lows, always living in those very high highs of, everything is perfect, and then everything is not. You know what? Jesus is the same yesterday. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He changes not. Even when you are not batting 1,000, he's there, 100%, totally committed to you. And so we have to know that. We have to experience that. No, girls, I have to tell you, life is not perfect. Okay? Now, can you write that down?